And of course, we'll be coming back soon with our reaction to the final, unless England lose, and then we'll delete the channel.
Nice.
Hello and welcome back to the Look at This podcast. We're all back together again. We're all very happy because England are in the final.
Yeah.
But we're gonna get 9 views on this video, so
Yay.
it's all for nothing. We are excited. We're going to talk a little bit about India versus England semi-final. That's our first thing to do. And second, we're then going to predict the final. We're going to preview it. We're going to bring you that top quality content that you have been watching. Remember, keep watching the videos, keep subscribing, keep liking, keep commenting, keep telling your grandmas about this podcast because it's going places. Boys, how are you? What did you think of England's performance in that final?
See you, Kumar Yadav. He's a bit scary. Virat Kohli, he's a bit scary. Rohit Sharma, sometimes scary. But they weren't scary the other day. It was embarrassing for India. And that is the sad point for all our fans because most of you support India. And yeah, it hurts, I'm sure. But from an England point of view, it was just awesome because this team that we viewed as basically England, we thought England were going to lose from our chats. We thought England would have a chance, but India just looked so strong. And yet England made a bowling attack look really weak and a batting lineup look toothless, really. But my main question is, was it India not playing as well as they could? Or was it England being ridiculously awesome?
That's a big question. I think it was a little bit of both. Because I think England played close to their potential in this game. But I don't think India played to their potential. India, if you look at their lineup and their batsmen in particular, I'll focus first on this batting innings. We've kind of got the top 3 are anchors. You know, this is kind of going back to what we've said in previous podcasts where, you know, we've got David Malan or Ben Stokes operating as an anchor. So somebody that will aim to bat the whole innings and other people will bat around him. KL Rahul, Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli all try to do that role. Now, I don't think they should. I think the best KL Rahul is somebody that is explosive at the top. I think the best Rohit Sharma is somebody that's super aggressive. Virat Kohli, I think, is an excellent anchor, and he should be because he runs so well. And then Sky, obviously, coming in late. Hardik is outstanding. So you've got the lower order hitters. I just think that India didn't really stick to the game plan of, or maybe they stuck to their game plan, but the game plan was wrong. Because they never really looked like they wanted to go until it was kind of the last 5 overs. And then Hardik switched on. He was like, oh yeah, I'm going to smack it around because I can. But the rest of them, like especially that top 3, just didn't look like they had the vavavoom. They didn't have the impetus to really, you know, grab the innings by the scruff of the neck and say, no, England, you're not getting on top of us. We're going to really put the pressure on you. What did you guys think?
I agree. I think there was a bit of, but I'm going to say more of England being really good. And applying the pressure and turning the screw, particularly through the middle overs. And actually, I'm not even going to talk about Alex Hales and Josh Buttler. I think the standout individual performance from England was Adil Rashid. 4 overs, 1 wicket for 20 in a semi-final. I don't think you could really ask for better figures. And I think that was probably where India struggled a bit. Like, they've done well through all the group stages, but at Adelaide, wrist spin is so important. And I think it would have been a different game if Yuvendra Chahal was playing and Ashwin wasn't. I think that would have been a completely different game, because England had 2 wrist spin options in Rashid and Livingston versus no options for India. And I think that really was the key change. Like, they were able, that Rashid particularly was getting purchase, he was getting turn, he was flighting it beautifully, and took that key wicket of Sky. And I think that was just such an important turning point in the game. We spoke about, didn't we? How are we going to restrict Surya Kumar Yadav? And we were like, we don't know how to do it. We just need to, get him frustrated, stop him scoring boundaries. And it's exactly what Rashid did. Like, he just tied him up. He just dotted him up. He played that boring cricket, and it was just such a good spell of bowling from Rashid in that spot. And I think, that lack of wrist spin for India, I think, really had an onus on it.
Yeah,
Having said that, go on. I was just going to say, having said that, the star for India was Hardik Pandya. Zach, can you sum up Hardik's innings? Because we were very scared when we saw Hardik hitting out.
Yeah, I think it was scary in that he was putting up a fight at the end of the innings, and we were like, oh, is he taking this beyond the score we can reach? But when you looked at it realistically, he was batting on the same pitch that England's openers batted on and India's openers batted on. So it wasn't like the pitch changed much throughout the innings. It was a very good pitch. I was watching the pitch reports at the start of the game, and I think Hardik Pandya was just batting with the right attitude and the right mindset from a sticky situation that India was in, which probably provided him that freedom to have a go. And I think England, potentially with Mark Wood's aid in the middle overs with his extra pace, could have maybe restricted India even more to a well below par total. And it was only through Hardik Pandya's brilliance, which we've seen for the last year in 2020 cricket. He's been standout for India, and India needed his best to get up to a score which was probably still below par. So as brilliant as he was let down really by the rest of the team. So often we've seen Virat Kohli score 50s and he's looked really good, but we've said he's batting too slow. And I think you've just got to be honest and say that India's at the start of the innings didn't bat quick enough. And I think you're right, Benj. England bowled really well as well to restrict them. And Adil Rashid, I'm just going to echo what you said and just say that he was amazing in that game. And I said it in a previous podcast. He is one of the best players to never play in the IPL. And he's bowling against the creme of the creme.
Creme de la creme.
Creme de la creme of Indian cricket, of the IPL cricket. So they'll be watching that and thinking we need him in the IPL. James, there's one player who we haven't talked about who I think he bowled the difficult overs and he hasn't played much international cricket, and that is Chris Jordan. Were you impressed by Chris Jordan?
I was impressed by him. The thing that impressed me the most, actually, was he looked angry. And that's a side of Chris Jordan I haven't seen for a while. You know, he was relatively expensive, but he was bowling the hardest overs. I think it was just 3 at the death was the majority of where the runs came. And he was bowling to Hardik Pandya when Hardik was, doing one of his greatest knocks. And he was really pushing the pace gun there. I think the fastest I saw him bowl was about 92, which I haven't seen Chris Jordan push that pace for a while. And it was quite refreshing to see, because it was obvious that he wasn't happy getting smacked around the park. He didn't want a repeat of last year. And it was a refreshing thing to see. I think if England had been defending a total, I would have been a lot less happy to see Chris Jordan in the side. But the fact that we were trying to constrict a score in the first place, I think that's where Chris Jordan can shine a bit more, because batsmen still aren't sure if they've got a good score yet. So I think that's where we see the best of Chris Jordan. And I was impressed. He took big wickets. It was a nice cheeky run out as well. He was good, and it was refreshing to see. The only bowler that I thought really had an off day was Sam Curran, And even then, he was bowling difficult overs. But, you know, if Sam Curran, who has been the informed T20 bowler of the year so far, if he's the one that's having the off day in the semi-final and we're still blitzing an amazing, amazing India side, that's fine by me. If we move on to the England batting innings, because I mean, there's not a whole lot to talk about in terms of batting. Yeah, I mean, I'll run through the scorecard. Joss Buttler and Alex Hales. Yeah, so it was a very good performance from those two. Honestly, what? Speechless, absolutely speechless.
Yeah, when it got to 50 without loss, I was thinking it's been a good partnership. All it takes, all India will be thinking is just 1 or 2 wickets and we're back in the game. But I just like to focus on Buttler, who has, I think for a while in captaining the England side, he's not really put up a dominant performance that we've seen before he had the captaincy. Like we saw him in the IPL playing, well, he's the best batter in the last IPL, in my opinion. And then we've seen him dominate in white ball cricket for a long time. And since he's got the captaincy, he's not really done that. But yesterday, wow, like it was awesome to watch. And the way he finished the game with that 6 back over the bowler's head, that shows we have absolutely wiped the floor with you. And that was just awesome. And to win with 4 overs to spare, I mean, it's been an absolute hammering.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. Thoughts on Hales?
It was a hailstorm, wasn't it? Like, you know, playing in Australia, he loves it there. You always have one of those Hales performances every big bash. So he's just done it for England, which is really great. Yeah, I think it's so good him back. He's seized this opportunity of like being this world-class T20 England opener, seized this second opportunity that he's had of it, and yeah, it's been brilliant. I think England would be struggling a bit more in this World Cup had they been playing with Jason Roy or Phil Salt over Alex Hales in this situation. Like, I think, yeah, he's just been phenomenal. His ball striking, the fact that he got to 50 within 8 overs in the final, like he just showed absolutely no respect for that India batting attack.
Bowling
attack, that's it, not batting attack. For that India bowling attack.
No respect for them either. Yeah.
No, to be fair, yeah. He has no respect for any man. But he surely has to be on the brink of a big IPL contract. And with, you know, he had a chance last year but pulled out due to bubble restrictions. Surely this year he's going to be listing in that auction, and there'll be a big price tag after that performance. Just thinking about the IPL, one thing that I was reading today, which got me quite interested, was an article that was saying, should India let their players play in overseas T20 tournaments around the world? And I just want to hear your two's views on this, because while we wouldn't say that the Indian team are inexperienced when it comes to T20, I would wager they play less T20s than the England team, Australian team, Pakistani team, because they only play the IPL, where you've got the English, all the rest of the other teams playing in all these different franchise tournaments. You think of the likes of Riley Rousseau, Tim David, who go all the way around the world. So I want to think, yeah, James, let's just jump to you first. What is your view about this on the IPL?
I think it personally, it makes sense to me to allow autonomy. But even if the BCC, CCICC, if they are
BCCI, I found out.
Yeah. Even if they are completely reluctant to allow players to go off, you know, because they want availability, they don't want players getting injured in non-India related causes, things like that. There was a good suggestion on the article that I think you referred to from Cricket Info, that there was a good suggestion that just allow players that aren't in the India squad to go and play abroad, because it does offer a wealth of opportunities. It offers so much experience, because, you know, the first time that someone like, I don't know, throw a name out, Rahul Chahar
Arshdeep Singh.
Washington Sundar.
Washington's not Arshdeep Singh. The first time that all of those are going to play, unless they're in the kind of the youth system playing abroad, youth tests and those kind of things. First time they're going to interact with Australian pitches or West Indian pitches is going to be when they're actually playing there in a full-on match. Whereas,
To be fair to Washington Sundar, he played very well in his first ever game in Australia, winning
yes, he
the
did.
game for India. But there we go.
But like, you know, I feel like it would provide a lot of useful information for them. They would understand how to bowl a bit more. I think it would just make a huge difference. So personally, I think, yeah, just let them loose, India.
Yeah.
You know, it's not going to hurt you.
Yeah, it'd be great to see like Shubman Gill playing for the Trent Rockets or just something like that. Just having these players playing for these other teams, it will do wonders for them, but it will also do wonders for the rest of the world. Because if this was 20 years ago, say, then players like Sachin Tendulkar, seeing them on the same team as Brian Lara, players like that, like you want to see that happening throughout the whole of the year, not just in the IPL window.
Sorry, comment below your thoughts on this. We want to hear what you think. Should the BCCI let their players play overseas?
Just to finish off, India's bowling, there wasn't really anything to offer with them. And I think it was just a case of England batted very well and India didn't look to apply any pressure. And I think that was disappointing from them. And I think they made a mistake in, as you've already alluded to, Ben, in sticking with the same formula and not potentially playing Yuzvendra Chahal. He's had a good record against England. He's good. It's leg spin, as you said, Benji's good at Adelaide. So do you think they missed the trick by not playing Yuzvendra Chahal?
You can see that India have gone down this route of being a bit scared of being, you know, a batter light almost. And I think that's why Ashwin got the pick over Chahal. Probably because of Jadeja's injury, the fact that he's not there. I think that's probably lent towards that. But yeah, I think as the tournament progressed, I mean, India topped their group, didn't they? So they were doing fantastically. You know, they were using a winning formula, weren't they? But when it comes to Adelaide, maybe one of those other games, they could have played Chahal, who can still turn it both ways. Like we're you know, he's a great bowler and can move it both ways, the same as Ashwin. Yeah, and I think just that lack of wrist spin. I mean, I was good to see that good old Ravi Bishnoi didn't even make it into the squad, let alone, you know, get a game, because I really rate Ravi Bishnoi as a bowler.
Yeah. Even Kuldeep Yadav.
Yeah, exactly. But it's been a tournament for the leg spinners. Like you look at, you know, Rashid's performance in this game, highest wicket taker of Hasaranga. Shadab Khan's done well with the ball. Like I could list so many leg spinners. Adam Zampa before he got COVID. Like, you know, leg spin had a really massive impact on this tournament. And I think just not having that wrist spinner in your side, I think they almost shot themselves in the foot there a bit. And as we've said, especially at a ground like Adelaide with those wide square boundaries where you want to get people to try and hit and miss hit.
So I've got to say that I think the decision to not play Chahal for the majority of it was sound, and I would have been absolutely fine with them doing it. You know, going with the extra batter and playing that exact lineup if they got their tactics right, because the premise behind batting deep is, right, we're going to be more aggressive, we're going to care more about strike rates and less about averages. We're going to care less about the wickets we concede because more people can bat well. And that's the idea behind it. And because India weren't aggressive at the top, it meant that like Ashwin and Axar, they weren't used. I think, you know, Ashwin did as much as put his pads on, but that was it. They didn't use their actual batting depth because they weren't being aggressive enough. And I'm not saying they would have got the, you know, 30 extra runs that would have actually been needed in the end, but it would have applied a hell of a lot more pressure to England. And yeah, like you say, that the bowling was a bit toothless. I would have liked to see my boy Arshdeep bowled a little bit more. I mean, I wouldn't because I wanted England to win, but Arshdeep, I rate him. I think he could have got the breakthrough, but it was I think the actual not picking Chahal, obviously on this particular ground, turned out to be a mistake, but I think you can explain it away if they are then going to bat the way that their team lineup would suggest. What are your thoughts, Zach?
Well, yeah, I think sometimes you do need to switch things up, and India didn't do that. And I think one thing we've got to remember is that England hadn't played a single game in this World Cup at Adelaide, and India had. So India were a lot more used to the conditions. They knew how Adelaide played, and yet they chose to not adapt to those conditions that were favourable for, say, a leg spinner. And I think that's kind of the difference between the two teams that we're seeing, is that India find a formula that work and keep going, whereas England are happy to adapt and maybe adopt a different style. England chose to bowl first, even though batting first has been preferred throughout the tournament. And I think that adapting is going to help England in the final as well, playing against Pakistan, because you've got players like Alex Hales, Phil Salt, Harry Brook, who have played in the PSL. They've played against these Pakistan players, and they've also played in the Big Bash. So they've got that experience there. And I think that know-how will stand them in good stead, which is why I think England are going to win the final of the World Cup against Pakistan.
Say that. Why?
What a segue.
Why would you say that?
Yeah, well, exactly for the reasons that I've said. I'm not thinking about the weird voodoo stuff. I'm thinking about the.
You
pure
need to think about
facts.
the weird voodoo stuff, Zach.
Right. Despite Benji's juju, I'm also going to predict that England win. I think it's going to be quite a close one. I'm not going to lie. With Baba and Rizwan both coming back into form, and looking at that Pakistani bowling attack, I feel like I'm a broken record. I just say Pakistani bowling attack, oh, so good.
Yeah,
but it really is, and I think it could run through England equally. I think England could run through Pakistan. I think it's a bit of a toss of a coin. However, I'm going to say 55% England, 45% Pakistan. What do you think, Benj?
Well, it's boring otherwise. I'm gonna go. I have to go England. I was gonna go Pakistan to make it interesting, but I can't not. Come on, England, we can do this.
Yeah.
Look, I think it's going to be an absolute corker, of you said. Like, we saw one of the best T20 series, like the 7-match series between England and Pakistan before the World Cup, went back and forth, and you could see on their day either team could outclass the other one. And yet there are going to be some really key matchups. We won't list all of them now, but Babar Azam versus like Sam Curran. You've got Rizwan versus Sam Curran as well. I don't know.
Alex Hales versus Harris Ralph.
Yeah, look at that. That's
something
the
like that.
thing
Yeah,
that we've got. So
Shadab Khan versus Phil Salt.
It's going to be great. It's going to be a great final on Sunday. I can't wait for it.
However, the chances are it's going to be played on Monday because it's going to get rained off.
Well, that leads us perfectly, sorry to stop you, into a cricket news question.
Oh, brilliant.
So, we have a cricket news question. The first one says, do you think rain will spoil the final? P.S. Really hoping for a Pakistan to win.
Well, I think if rain affects it, England have the upper hand there. Because we like the soggy conditions in England.
Because we're used to rain.
That. However, if it's down to Duckworth Lewis, I'd rather they just scrapped it if it rained a little bit and just played on Monday, because no one wants to see a 12-over match final. People want to see a 20 overs versus 20 overs. So I hope rain won't. But as a weatherman myself, yes, rain will spoil the final. So there we go. I'm not actually a weatherman. But
I want the final, if it does get rained off, to be decided in the true English village cricket fashion of bowling at stumps.
Oh, they used to do that, They used to do that.
The bowl off. Oh, that would be
Um,
awful.
But yeah, okay. We have two other cricket nerds questions from PD, legend of the game. First one, how do you feel about Kane Williamson's T20I captaincy? I'm going to throw it over to you, James.
I think it's good. Cheers. Thanks for coming.
Okay, Zach.
Kane Williamson's captaincy is good. I think as a captain, he's been the longest serving captain in cricket for a long time now. And I think his experience shows in terms of he knows which bowlers to go to. He's got a very good philosophy in the New Zealand team. It's just not good enough to win World Cups. And that is the harsh reality of it. And that's probably because he's in the team and probably isn't good enough as
Do
a
you think it's
2020
because
batsman.
of his personal performance? Is Williamson the new Morgan? Maybe.
Maybe.
CNQ2, PD, thank you.
The legend of
How
the game.
do you feel about Benjamin Stokes as a T20 batsman? James, he's good.
He's good. Thanks for coming. He works well as an anchor and a get out of jail free card. But he's not going to be that explosive from ball one type of player that they've tried to jam him in to be in the past. I think he's somebody that needs to gauge an innings, and he could pull out an amazing innings if he wants to, but in general should be an anchor and should be thought of as that.
I think if Ben Stokes was advertised as a hard-hitting, fast-scoring 2020 batsman, I wouldn't be convinced, and I wouldn't want him in my team. So as a batsman, I think there are better players to put in the team. Although I really enjoy his, as you've said, James, that get out of jail free card sort of aspect to his game. He wins tournaments with the bat. We've seen it in previous games. However, I think what he adds in the field and as a bowler is invaluable. He saves 10 runs in the field by himself. You see some of the awesome catches and stops he makes. So as the whole package, that's how you've got to view Ben Stokes. You can't just view him as a batsman.
Yeah, for sure. I think he's class. I think, we've seen what he can do in the IPL. He can smash hundreds for fun when he's opening the batting for Rajasthan. So I think he's got the class of a great batsman, and I think it will always be there. Whether it comes out really just depends on the day, I think. Awesome. Well, we'll wrap it up there. We thank you so much for watching and all the support. It's been great. We've enjoyed doing the World Cup so far. It's been nice to bring you this content. And I hope you've enjoyed it as much as we've enjoyed doing it. As we said at the start of the video, comment down below who do you think is going to win, Pakistan or England. Hashtag Pakistan or hashtag England win. Let's see it. Let's see the predictions from the cricket nerds. Give us some questions. And of course, we'll be coming back soon with our reaction to the final, unless England lose, and then we'll delete the channel.
Nice.
All right. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.
Goodbye.